Dating of various artifacts is done through a variety of methods. According to the U.S. National Park Service, there are 12 methods of dating artifacts found. There's cross-dating, which compares the age of an artifact found near another artifact. For example, if artifact A is 100 years old and is found next to artifact B, then artifact B is presumed to be of a similar age. There's dendrochronology, which looks at tree rings and determines a specific date. There's geological dating, which uses documented geological events to assign a date to a geological stage. There's horizon, which examines a set of artifacts based on similarity in cultural traits that appear within a given time period. There's mean ceramic dating, which looks at the changes in pottery throughout history and informs a period of time based on the pottery found. There's obsidian hydration, which looks at the hydration of an area and how long it has been exposed based on how much water is absorbed. There's radiocarbon dating, which looks at the radiation levels found in an object based on how much of the radiation that has been decayed in that object. There's seriation, which looks at artifacts based on human behavior. There's stratigraphy, which is the subject for today and commonly known as sediment layer dating. There's terminus post quem, or TPQ, which looks at artifacts that are placed outside of the time they were originally formed and provides a time in which they came to be in the area in which they are found. There's thermoluminescence, which looks at the light emitted by an object when heated. With so many dating options available, how are we to know which are reliable and which are flawed? We will go over all of these methods at some point on this channel, but today we will focus on sediment layer dating or stratigraphy. According to S. Shakely's 2001 book, The International Encyclopedia of the Social and Behavioral Sciences, stratigraphy is defined here as the study of the spatial and temporal relationships between sediments and the soil. An article on nature.com further helps us understand how the dating of fossils is accomplished using sediment layer dating. It says, fossil species that are used to distinguish one layer from another are called index fossils. While the term fossil in this context is more broad than what we would consider a fossil, it helps us see a flaw with only using stratigraphy in determining a relative date in our findings. First, it makes an assumption that sediment layers are accumulated over a series of millions of years, either being washed up by seas expanding and contracting, seismic plates shifting, or millennia of erosion that replaced dirt and rock. The biblical worldview points to the flood happening in a matter of 40 days. Contrary to what is commonly visualized or explained, the Genesis story of the flood does not mention only rain, but vast bodies of water exploding to the surface from the depths of the ground. These explosions of springs would look like a monstrous version of geysers we see today. The massive amount of new surface water and the force at which it came forth could just as easily, if not more easily, explain the layers in our sediment instead of the gradual growth as popularly explained in science today. Second, if you apply critical thinking to the idea of sediment layer dating, you can see the flaw in it pretty easily. As explained by nature.com, fossil species that are used to distinguish one layer from another are called index fossils. So if we are using stratigraphy to determine the age of a fossil, then determining the age of another fossil based upon the findings from the original fossil, then you have an example of circular reasoning, which we reviewed previously on this channel. Dr. Ronald West, professor of paleontology and uniformitism at Kansas State University, stated the following in 1968. Contrary to what most scientists write, the fossil record does not support the Darwinian theory of evolution, because it is this theory, and there are several, which we use to interpret the fossil record. By doing so, we are guilty of circular reasoning if we then say the fossil record supports this theory. When doing your own research, and I encourage everyone to dig into the world around them for themselves, do not be fooled simply by sediment layer dating. I'm not defending a young Earth standpoint or saying sediment layer dating does not have its place. I simply am saying sediment layer dating is flawed when no other measure or other faulty measures are used. There are other good measures of dating that we can dependably rely upon. When sediment layer dating is paired with these, it is a useful tool. Please continue to follow along as we go over the other methods of dating and look critically at the information available to us. This information will help us better understand the Creator that put this world in place and the love He had when creating us. May God keep you and bless you. Really quick, before you go, let me explain why I felt led to start this channel. When talking to Pilate, Jesus said, "I have come into the world to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate responds by asking, "What is the truth?" It's evident that a lot of people are still asking this question almost 2,000 years later. And while we live in an amazing time with the wealth of the world's knowledge available in the palm of our hands, there's often too much information, leaving people unable to process what's true and what's not true. Paul describes such times in this way when he writes his second letter to his disciple Timothy. Always learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of the truth. There are several who expound on what truth is, but often they are misguided, or they are malice in their intent, or they're being intellectually dishonest. My hope is that I am able to provide evidence for why the scriptural narrative is true, a contextual and practical explanation of the principles found in its writings, and a defense for other believers. As Peter explains, you should always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. If you find value in this channel as I do, there are a few ways you can help, both by gifting and without spending any money. First, react and interact with these videos wherever you're watching from. This greatly helps the channel be seen by others and new people. Next, please share this content with others you feel may benefit from the information found here. Also, please subscribe to this channel on all social media. And finally, if you feel led to, and if you have the means to, please consider giving to this channel through the outlets previously mentioned, or the channel's Patreon. All these links are going to be in the video description. Thank you for watching, and may God keep you and bless you.